I love our Constitution. Don't you? Have you ever sat down to read it? I have once, and you know what? It's very straightforward. A layperson can understand this. You don't have to be a lawyer, and it set up a remarkable system of government. That Supreme Court, we're liking it a lot lately. Another decision that we think is great. The EPA can no longer impose arbitrary, sometimes non-scientific regulations on private industry. That's good. You know, private industry, they've done a lot of self-regulating, and there's been some encouragement as well. Clean air, we like it in America. You know where the real problem is? China, all right? China, the third world. Joe, for some reason, doesn't seem to want to pressure China all that much, but that's where the problem is, not in America. So, another great decision from the Supreme Court. Earlier this month, we had a terrible law struck down in New York State, Sullivan's Law. It basically said that if you were a law-abiding person, it was essentially impossible for you to get a gun. You had to get a special permit from the police department. They made you jump through all kinds of hoops. So the result was that only the bad guys had guns. And that is not good. And the Supreme Court saw it our way. All right, so you can, if you're a law-abiding citizen, get a gun. Not so fast, though. Our governor, Democrats, don't like the Supreme Court. They want to upend the Supreme Court. They want to pack the Supreme Court. And now they think they're going to pass a bunch of laws that will essentially blow off what the Supreme Court just ordered. This is our governor that we have to deal with, Kathy Hochul.
We have to make sure that we make these changes, and I want them done now.
Wow, pretty, she wants them done now. Ma'am, yes, ma'am. So she outlines where she thinks you can't bring a gun. She's ordering this. You can't bring a gun, even if it's legally yours, to the following places.
Federal, state, local government buildings, health and medical facilities, places where children gather, daycares, parks, zoos, playgrounds, public transportation, subways, buses, polling places, educational institutions, and making sure that we have no open carry policy as a default position for private businesses.
I think you can have a gun in your own basement, maybe, okay? And let's say you are a gun owner or you're a private business and you have no problem with what the Supreme Court ruled. You're going to have to say so out loud. I think this defeats the purpose of a lot of things.
The presumption in the state of New York after we sign this bill into law will be the presumption is that private property owners will not want to have concealed carry weapons on their premises. But should they decide they do, they would actually affirmatively put a sign in their window, a bar, a restaurant, a gathering place, concealed carry weapons, welcome here.
That's not going to work. Okay, this is just totally impractical. And the result will be, if this happens, the bad guys will keep their guns and law-abiding citizens will be prohibited from carrying guns. This is not good. But did you notice her demeanor? Kathy Hochul, wow, large and in charge, right? Kinda bossy. Yeah, that's the word bossy. And I'm going to use the word bossy, even though the left says we shouldn't use that word, especially when it comes to women. But I'm sorry, that was bossy. Anyway, this is what they say.
When I was growing up, I was called bossy.
I think the word bossy is just a squasher.
Being labeled something matters. By middle school,
girls are less interested in leadership than boys.
And that's because they worry about being called bossy.
We need to tell them it's okay to be ambitious.
We need to help them lean in.
Words matter.
Let's just ban the word bossy.
And encourage girls to lead.
To be strong and be ambitious.
Listen to your own voice. There are no limits.
Dare to be you.
You can change the world. Let's ban bossy.
Maybe don't be bossy. What is bossy? Bossy is getting a bit of authority and overdoing it, right? Men can do it, women can do it, but they're talking about women. What are they going to do about this Karen craze, okay? Now, these folks want everybody to be assertive. Well, not too assertive, because then you'll be called a Karen. That is a terrible trend and a horrible racist label. And Karen happens to be a very beautiful name. Have you noticed that everybody seems to have an attitude these days? I mean, big time. Everyone's getting angry about big things and small things. You know what we used to call this? having a chip on your shoulder. Do you remember that phrase? People used to say it all the time, and it was a bad thing.
Now, do you have a chip on your shoulder?
I am so sick and tired of this chip that you're carrying on your shoulder.
That's Monster. She had a big chip on her shoulder.
Don't mind him. Chocolate's just got a chip on his shoulder.
That stuff's 20 years old, 12 years old. Nobody says chip on their shoulder. You know why? Because everybody has a chip on their shoulder. That's just the way people are right now. And it's encouraged and it's glorified. Some of those witnesses on Capitol Hill, Alexander Vindman, the lieutenant colonel, had a big chip on his shoulder. Michael Fanone, a chip on his shoulder. Christine Blasey Ford, ooh, talk about a chip. And, of course, nobody has a bigger chip than AOC. Oh, boy, the phrase was made for her. But it's not a thing anymore because everybody's kind of walking around with an attitude. Everybody wants to run to the authorities, to their congressperson, to HR to say something if their feelings are slightly hurt. And everybody is not afraid to make something small into something big. We used to call that making a federal case out of something, to exaggerate or build up the importance of something. Have you noticed that nobody says that anymore? It used to be big.
You want to make a federal case of it?
Let's not make a federal case out of this.
Little dent and you were making a big federal case out of it.
You get one good idea all year, you gotta make a federal case out of it.
The honeymooners. Yeah, it's. I still think it's a thing, making a big deal out of something small. Hey, take Cassidy Hutchinson's the left's new superhero girl. Talk about small stuff, ketchup on the wall, making a federal case out of it. Oh, Tony said something to me, so we're going to have congressional hearings. It's a joke. It's a joke, but petty grievances now, ooh, if you've got one, you can run with it. And maybe they're trying to cancel President Trump now, but they can cancel anybody. They're canceling celebrities left and right. You've seen that. If they can do it to President Trump, though, or these guys, they can do it to a truck driver. They can do it to you. They can do it to me. By the way, Harrison, who remembers The Bachelor when he was on it? He was terrific. He made that one slight, not even a faux pas, and he had to go groveling to Michael Strahan. Do you remember this?
His apology is his apology, but it felt like it got nothing more than a surface response on any of this. And obviously, he's the man who wants to clearly stay on the show, but only time will tell if there is any meaning behind his words.
Wow. Chris Harrison got into a minor argument. It wasn't even an argument, a slight nothing. And Michael Strahan kicked the guy when he was down, huh? Well, it's happening not only on television, not only on Good Morning America, it's happening in politics, it's happening at the depot, it's happening in the classroom, it's happening everywhere, all over the world. And I think that's why we have so many unhappy people. Did you see this? Gallup has a new poll that says 33% of the global population says they're unhappy. That is, according to those who follow these things, that's a staggeringly high number. I got a solution. I do. You know, people don't talk about it enough, but if you want your life to improve, I can just tell you my life has improved dramatically when I started to get into the Word of God. He was trying to get my attention for a very long time, and I was convinced that I had all the answers. I did not need any help, and I had, oh, wait a second, how could there be a God? And then I just got, and I knew. And once I started reading the Bible, everything changed. So maybe you've started your own spiritual journey, or maybe you haven't. I do recommend, if you're thinking about these things, if you've ever thought about them, you may want to pick up the Charles Stanley Life Principles Bible. Someone gave it to me a decade ago. A few years later, it took me a couple years, I started reading it. Little footnotes in there and essays that help me understand the Word. So maybe you're already well on your way, maybe not, but it's helped me immensely. Thank you for listening, and stay with us. Do you remember the show Friends? It was big in the 90s and the early aughts. Made a lot of people laugh and a lot of people a lot of money. Now everyone is apologizing for this show. Their crime? Too many white people. Be right back.